someone check and make sure you can actually see me.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so last class we left off, we were talking about the archetypes, and we want to take that assertive archetype and extend it out to possible interviews. We're walking down the street and someone comes up and asks us for the time, something like that. And we said sometimes people just need the time or directions or whatever. Or this could be an interview, we don't know. So we use the assertive archetype to be able to do that. Now, to basically deter the attack, we talked about posturing, making sure that this is happening, and they move on. So how we put that archetype back into this context is we kind of tied it into Cooper's color code. We said level white is oblivious, not aware of what's going on around us. So that's when someone's right here. We are in condition yellow. We are more aware of our surroundings. We're being more proactive. We talked about the importance of extending our radar beyond where most people are just 2 feet in front of them. If it is a predator, they are scoping us out from way over there. And by us being able to recognize and see that in and of itself is basically deterrence, right? Because if they see, I know you're checking me out, I know you're planning to walk over and talk to me or whatever, or I'm aware of you from over there, I'm not giving you the chance to, again, take me by surprise or whatever, or I see what you're doing, right? That in and of itself is enough maybe for just deterrence, right? That you're aware, your radar, as I said, is beyond. I gave you the example when I was in Boston and the guys, I saw the one guy, kind of nod to the other two and start to surround me, right? So I was aware of that. I was able, because I had my radar extended, then I could, check and instead of just the guys right here in front of me, and I'm oblivious to the other two guys or whatever else, I stopped up short. I kind of looked at that guy over there for a quick second, make sure, so I let everybody know I know what's going on here. And that's probably why they let me go and it didn't end up differently. So, yellow alert, being aware, when Bubba starts to come up to engage us, we are going to, remember we said our job, our boundary for our purposes is about 2 arms distance, which happens to be about 6 feet. So, 6 feet, clarify, let's say 6 feet, so we don't get in trouble for not social distancing, but it's about the same, right? So we're even a little bit more, right? But I'm going to lay up, so Bubba starts to come up, I'm not going to keep walking in and destroy the integrity of my own distance or boundary, right? Presumably Bubba's going to kind of slow up a little bit and at least initially respect that 2 arms distance, but I'll make sure I stop even a little short. So again, white is oblivious, we shouldn't be there. Yellow, we're aware, we're seeing things happen. We are not taken by surprise when Bubba starts to come up, so we can stop short. When Bubba actually starts to engage, this is condition orange. This is orange alert. Orange alert, 1 foot goes back, hands start to come up and in towards our own body into kind of just a kind of ready position. You can do, there are other, most people kind of do something like this, okay? If you are right-handed, you'll probably put your right foot back so you have your dominant side back. So that basically this is, law enforcement would consider this or call this their interview stance. Homeland Security has some other acronym for it, but whatever. But basically, you're here. If things happen to escalate quickly, you've got 1 foot back, your hands can come up to defend. You're in a pseudo-fighting stance, but in a non-threatening position, okay? Non-escalating position, but you basically are on the ready, okay? Eye contact, body language, pleasant tone, no hooks, the assertive archetype that we talked about before. We ask them, we answer their question, we give them directions, whatever it is, or whatever, because again, people need the time, people need directions, whatever, okay? So, but we do it from, again, this confident and assertive archetype with us in position. We keep the boundary, so among other things, we have that reactionary gap, okay? So, their job is to probably get a lot closer to sucker punches or whatever else. By virtue of keeping the integrity of that stance, now that they don't get the element of surprise they wanted. Now that's another thing they have to think about. Is this worth trying to cover that much distance and I lose the element of surprise? They get to see me coming. I get, I'm going to take more damage when I come in, right? This is more of a high risk fight, whatever else, right? So they've got to weigh some things, right? Because it's not going the way they want it to, right? And again, risk reward, and this is the whole point, is then we're saying, hey, I know what's up. You dialed the wrong number, go someplace else, okay? So, again, that assertive archetype, they ask us for the time, we say it's like 12:30, and they start to move on or whatever. And again, that could have been someone needed the time, let me just answer their question, or it could have been an interview, but when we do all those things we talked about, they decide that risk reward is not in their favor, they'll go ask someone else for the time. Okay? We don't know which it is, but it's pretty good self-defense if all we have to do is tell someone the time, isn't it? And that's not too bad, okay? So, if for whatever reason they hang out a little bit longer, they stay engaged on us, then they keep talking, they ask us more questions, they're maybe sizing us up a little bit more, whatever, okay? Then we're simply going to take control of the situation, of the conversation, and we're going to ask them, what do you want, right? Or if that's a little too harsh, you can say, is there anything else, whatever, okay? But basically, you're going to take control of the situation, and then they have to answer, either explicitly or whatever they do next, kind of give you an idea of what they wanted or whatever, right? So yeah, they ask it for the time or their directions. They keep talking. You're like, can I help you? Is there anything else you need? Whatever. Well, shit, nothing, bitch. I just needed the time or whatever, right? Yeah, could have been an interview, but when you took control of the conversation, right? I'm not messing around here. You don't intimidate me, whatever. Then, and again, not in an aggressive way, but in a firm way. Then, that moves on. Thank you for checking. Okay, so that helps. That gives them an out. Right? Well, I just need the time. Okay, they still have that out, but like I said, we don't know, but life is good. Okay? If for whatever reason, with their fixed, the situation is such that it's a little more, or us, or just for one reason or another, they're hanging around. At this point, we are going to move on to simple direct commands. This is over. You need to leave now. Back off. As you do that, your hands are going to start to come up and out and project with your voice even more. Okay? You're going to make like a broken record. Simple direct commands. Back off, leave them, what now, whatever. Okay? We have a tendency to want to keep talking. We'll come back to that point even more in a minute. Okay? But simple direct commands. Someone else, maybe there is a bystander around the corner or whatever else. You're yelling, back off or whatever. Okay? Then someone's gonna, I hear a woman screaming like it's better than help or whatever, okay, but what's going on over there? So it's calling attention to the situation. It's abundantly clear what you want to have happen. So from that kind of culpability and self-defense situation, well, they were arguing and things got physical. No, it was pretty evident what you wanted to have happen and they were not doing, right? So it kind of spells that out and everything else, right? So it looks something like this as we go in, and so we get firmer, this is over, you need to leave now, and it's going to get louder and louder. So we kind of go from orange into red, there's kind of that burnt sienna in the middle, right? And then we go into more red. So it looks something like this. We're walking down the street, Bubba comes up, how you do? Hey, it's like 12:30. Yeah, is there anything else? This is over. You need to leave now. Back off. Back off. Back off. Back off. Right? One more time. Okay. Hey, how you doing? It's like 12:30. Yeah. What do you want? Coca-Cola. 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 Kind of weird, huh? 85-90% of communication is nonverbal. Right? It's not what you say. It is how you are saying it. Okay? We need the congruence with our body language of that assertive archetype. Tone, body language, everything. The right things should be coming out of your mouth, right? But you gotta have the total package. What does this say? It says back off, doesn't it? Right? What does this say? Yeah, right? It's escalating when we talk about nowhere in the world does this agree. Okay? What does this say? Yeah, right? Bouncer cop comes around the corner and you're like this, you're in a fight. Okay? Versus this. Yeah, usually more for guys, but not exclusively for guys. That's still a problem, right? Okay? What does this say? That says something very different too, doesn't it? Okay? So, again, we have to have that congruence. Body language, everything else. The right things to be coming out of your mouth. Back off. Go away. Leave me alone. Right? I get this all the time. Back off, man! Back off! Does that really say back off? I mentioned again, I do this training in Kentucky. I don't even do it all that often, like once every couple of years or whatever, but I got a lot of stories from there. Right? We were doing this exercise that you guys are going to do today. Here in a minute, we're going to, one at a time, we're going to come out. Bubba is going to verbally assault you, okay? But we did it one time, and this lady, well, I ended up pulling a knife on her, let's just say, right? So she totally deserved it, though. Totally deserved it. So we were doing an exercise, and you know, she's back off, but I mean, you could tell, like, there was a growl in her voice, there was a sneer in her mouth, which I guess I won't know if you guys do that today, but right, but you know, she had sneer in her and her eyes, and like, you know, she's just back off, right? So Bubba knew, oh, there's a hook, and it wasn't even a very specific wolf. It was a very generic wolf. Like, I wasn't even getting anything personal, but I hit something, right? Something inside, right? She was triggered a little bit, right? So she was going way aggressive, right? And she was right things were coming out of her mouth, back off. But like, she wasn't saying back off, right? Bubba's like, ooh, I got her, right? She's triggered. I've got a hook. Something's going on, okay? So Bubba's like, well, what are you gonna do? Because I knew she wanted to do something. And she looked at me and she goes, I'm gonna slice your fucking throat. Middle note, in a minute, don't say that to Bubba, right? Don't threaten Bubba with lethal force, right? So, okay. I look away. Smack! Grabbed her, walked out, grabbed her, pulled my knife out. Where's your blade now, bitch? She just threatened me with lethal force. Right? So, she was trying to say the right things, but she didn't have that congruence. We did not have that going on. Okay? So that's why this is important, is we have to recognize in those triggers or how we're interacting with this situation when there's a little stress that's going on, because that might be a little different than how we thought it was going to go, right? So that's the important part of the day's exercise, okay? So we call the jargon, right? The interview, we call the woof, as in the bark that precedes the bite, okay? And it's a good metaphor, because in a way, this is kind of how you have to interact with a dog, right? Your dog really doesn't understand English. I know some of you think your dog understands English, but it really doesn't understand English, but it knows what you're saying, right? If you go up to your dog, right? I fucking hate you. You fucking shit in my shoes. Why don't you just go play in the street? Please be a little speed bump. Dog's like, right? Okay? You sit there, you go, I love you! Right? The dog's like running underneath the bed or counting it, right? Okay? It doesn't understand English, but it knows what you're trying to communicate. Right? This, in a way, we're basically, again, against the wolf. You're kind of scolding a dog. You can't be bad dog. Bad dog. Right? Can't be bad fucking dog. No, I mean, you can't be that either. Right? It has to be bad dog. It has to be a firm. It has to be not aggressive, but it has to be firm. Right? So, as I said, you guys are going to come out in a minute, but you're walking down the street. Bubba's going to come up one at a time. You're going to walk down the street. Bubba's going to come up and engage you, and your job is to establish a boundary and make Bubba go away. Okay? Now, as you do this, we're going to talk about some very common mistakes that happen, okay? But ordinarily, you would have a coach as you do this. Okay? And the coach is like an angel on your shoulder that kind of prompts you if you need a little help and everything else. Okay? So obviously, I'm doing this by myself. I don't have a team with me today. But what we do now is you guys are going to coach each other. And this is really, really uber important. If you do this properly, it actually, I think, works out better. You'll have a better experience. But if you don't do this, right? If you aren't fully on board, then it's gonna suck for you and everybody else. Okay? So what makes this program, or this particular class, this program that we're doing in this class right now, so powerful, but also a double-edged sword, is that when we get adrenaline, and by the way, when I told you just a second ago that I was going to verbally assault you one at a time, anybody get a little nervous? Yeah, the rest of you are fucking liars, right? So basically, when you get a little adrenaline, when you get a little nervous, when we get adrenalized, we go to a different part of the brain. Okay? We go to this little almond-shaped part of the brain called the amygdala, right? It is where emotion, past experience, kind of fight or flight is. There's even a deeper part of fight or flight, but basically kind of when people talk about fight or flight is in the amygdala. Cognitive thought is not in the amygdala. Okay? So you've ever been, like, you ditch your friend to go hang out with someone else, or maybe you're sneaking in past curfew or whatever, but whatever you're doing that you're like, oh, if I get caught or whatever, so you have a plan, right? You know, you have an excuse, you have a way to get out of it or whatever, right? And you know, oh, I finished my paper early and I tried to text you and then so-and-so came by, so I'm so glad we caught you out, you can hang out with us or whatever, you know, you have a plan, right? Okay? And, you know, you're in line or whatever and at the movie theater or whatever, and then they come out and they're like, what the fuck you doing here, right? You said you had to write paper or whatever. Or you're walking in, your parents are sitting in the dark, they flip on the switch, you're like Sasquatch on the game cam, right? Like this, Frozen or whatever, okay? And you know that, and you're surprised, right? You're taken aback, and you're just kind of like, and like later you're like, why didn't I had a plan, why didn't I do what I said I was going to do? Well, that's just a little toast when you got taste of when you got surprised, right? That little jolt of anxiety basically hijacked you to a different part of your brain, and your plan was in the cognitive part of the brain, but you weren't there anymore. You're in a different part. This is blatant operant conditioning. We are engineering, we are taking the response we want, and we are putting it in the right filing cabinet in the part of the brain that under duress you will access under stress. If you look at the science of, like, you know, performing under stress and stuff like that as it relates to martial arts fighting or whatever, some crazy shit happens. Okay, we'll talk about that later. We'll have other points of illustration throughout the semester. But basically, right, this is blatant operant conditioning. So here's the moral of the story, right? You don't normally walk around in, like, you don't realize it, right? Because you don't walk around in that adrenaline state all this time, okay? But what makes this program powerful is that when you access it again, we're putting it in a different filing cabinet. We have had people that do this training that months, years after the fact, hear their coach. Their coach is just like that little angel on their shoulder in the cartoon. Or when there is a Bubba in front of them, you know, we have people that hear their coach go, ask them what they want. Right? Or they hear when there's a fight going on, they're actually in a fight, they hear the crowd fight cheering for them as they did in training, which we're not going to do here right now, but you get the idea, right? So this is super powerful, and if you do it correctly. But here's, again, the double-edged sword. Even if you do it right one time out here, and then the rest of the time you're just kind of standing there, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. You're, like I said, you're adrenalizing the line. You're doing, right? You don't do this one time. Do this. I guess we have, like, what, 8 today? Small class, we're missing a lot of people, but a lot of people in quarantine. But, right, do this 10 times, not just once. Right? So you have to actively be going through this. By coaching the other people that are out here, not only are you helping them, but you are staying engaged, and I'm making sure you do this 10 times versus just one. It really is. If you do it right, it helps you so much better than just watching it. Right? And again, it's up on the person out here. But you have to be willing to coach and do it. But like I said, you do it one time here, but then 10 times you're doing it like this, or like this, whatever everybody else is standing, okay? That's not what we're trying to engineer, right? So again, this you gotta pay attention. So if they are supposed to be an orange alert out here, you need to be an orange alert in the line. You're gonna take the stance, because they're like, you should be thinking, they're an orange alert, right? Get an orange alert, right? If their hands should be up, your hands are up in the line. I mean, you're not yelling the same thing, you're not yelling back off, but you mentally are going through it. You are watching this assault happen and living it vicariously, right? Make sense? Now, here are some things that as coaches, you might see happen out here, and you go, well, I'm not doing that, right? So, but you gotta help them, okay? So common mistakes. I already alluded to, sometimes people just keep, like, your job is to keep that 2 arms distance space, right? Some people keep walking in and take that space away themselves, right? So again, if you're seeing this out here, you're going, you should be stop, for the love of Pete, stop. Why are you not stopping, right? Your coach would literally grab you and say, stop. You have to do that to these, stop. You're getting too close, stop. Tell them. Sometimes we get happy feet. We get a little nervous, we start fidgeting, we start moving around a bunch like this, right? That does not suggest confidence, does it? Right? So, if you had a coach, they would grab your shoulders and just anchor you down, say strong stance, strong stance, power stance, whatever, okay, so you can generate power, whatever. You see it happening, stop moving, stand still, strong stance. Sometimes people kind of want to back up a little bit, right? And there is a difference between like a tactical withdrawal and then just, nervously getting run backwards, okay? Stand still. I get this, back off, back off, back off. Hands go up and down. A coach behind you would literally grab you or put their hands underneath your elbows so you couldn't drop them back down, right? Keep your hands up. Okay? This guy yelling, keep your hands up. Don't drop your hands. Your job is to coach them as they do it. Sometimes people start to want to point. Coach would like smack your hand, stop that. You gotta yell, don't point. Another one you don't realize is kind of contextual, right? Because you want Bubba to leave. Okay, so your hands are up and out and you want Bubba to leave, so then you gesture. But then I get this dismissive wave. Be gone, peasant. You are below me, right? Bubba hates that hoity-toity shit. That's a hook, right? You might not even know you're doing it, but again, what are you communicating? Right? That's pretty disrespectful, right? If you look at it, right? Shoot, go away. Right? So don't do that. Okay? Some of you might be nervous laughers. Do you think Bubba likes getting laughed at? No, not Bubba. Okay? So, don't laugh at Bubba. Okay? Sometimes we get a little too aggressive. Sometimes we want to encroach on Bubba. So we want to project, but we don't actually want to come forward into Bubba's space. Right? Coach would grab you and pull you back. Sometimes people get so aggressive, like practically water skiing, trying to hold on to this person as they're coming at Bubba. Right? But Bubba, if you get too close to Bubba, or you do absolutely nothing, if you just stand there and let Bubba walk right into your face, then either way, right? So if you end up this close to Bubba, okay, but then you're gonna get smacked. Okay, I'll tell you now. Okay, first thing, So if you're doing this and you're encroaching on Bubba with your hands up, Bubba's gonna smack you. I'll smack your hand first, and I'll let you know, hey, you're getting really close. And if you don't catch on to that, then next time I'm gonna smack you upside the face. Sometimes people are like, well, we haven't even covered like how to block or how to deal with someone trying to hit me or whatever, and you just smack. Here's your first lesson in how not to get hit in the face. Don't put your fucking face so close that they can hit it. Make sense? Not hard, right? Don't put your fucking face there. Keep it back there. I told you I did at DePaul one time, I did one of my last classes. This guy, I mean, I smacked him like 3-4 times. He just kept walking in. I went, whack. He's a big guy. I mean, I just whack like 3 times. And he's like, you just kept coming in and hitting me. I'm like, whoa, time out. I looked at the line. I'm like, did I come in him or did he walk into those? And he like, I said, you walked into every one of those. He's like, oh man. But I mean, he didn't even realize his instinct was just to, again, keep coming forward into them, to step up into them. And he didn't realize what was going on there, okay? So again, this is the importance of awareness, right? Even I had another girl in the earlier class. She did a great job otherwise, but she has a tendency to kind of step forward a little bit. She was encroaching in Bubba's space a little bit. It wasn't as aggressive as stepping up into me or whatever, but there was a hint of that in what she was doing, right? Maybe that's a hook or whatever. So again, we want to be careful of these things. And as I said, you as coaches have got to be willing to point those things out and coach the people out here. Okay? Not only for their sake, but for your own. Let me reiterate, if they are in orange alert out here, you should be in orange alert in the line. So take a step up off of the line so you have a little more space to step back. So you don't step back on the mats, right? If you're up against the mats, you can't step back. If their hands should be out, your hands should be out. Okay? One last one that, and we've touched upon this elsewhere in the class, but keep in mind, but actually a couple more, sorry. So, sometimes people are just too quiet, right? Back off, louder, back off, louder, back off! You can tell. Look, if you can't hear them, if Bubba is shouting them down, if Bubba's up here and they're getting shouted down from here, right, that's not boundary, right? If Bubba's here and they come in here though, what's that gonna do? Now Bubba's gotta escalate, right? So we don't wanna escalate, we want to match whatever threat color Bubba's in. Maybe some of the wolves will be orange, some of the wolves will be red. Okay? So, again, you have to match whatever is going on in front of you, so you establish a boundary. You're not being shouted over, you're not being run over, metaphorically, but you're not escalating the situation either. Right? If you can't hear them out there, you gotta be louder, louder, okay? Sometimes they need a prompt, and this goes back to like what we talked about before. We have a tendency to want to be nice and play nice. And again, people need directions, people need those things, right? So we can give directions or we can do those things, but there's a line, right? And when that line is gone or passed, then we need to be able to flip the switch. I mean, we just need to shut that shit down there. And we have a tendency to not want to do that, right? We keep talking or whatever. So one of the biggest ones you might have to do is just give them the prompt. Ask them what they want. Tell them to leave now, right? They keep talking. Again, nice people want to find social solutions to problems that may or may not be there, right? So we need to, like I said, shut that shit down. I've already told you 3 times I don't have any money. It's time for you to go, right? We will be a broken record. No, I don't have any. This isn't about it isn't about the spare change anymore, people. Okay? You need to recognize that and shut that shit down because you said no. Right? It still might be about money, but it ain't about the spare change, you know what I mean? I mean, nice tits. Okay, the line was back there. I mean, there's no negotiating there, right? So again, wherever they come in on the line, that's a different story. But when the line's crossed, it's crossed. Right? There's no, we got, again, shut that shit down. Okay? You guys might need the prompt. you're thinking this is going too long, they need to be, slamming the door. Help them slam that door. Ask them what they want. Tell them to leave. Back off. Right? Give them the prompt. Help them get off of the script, okay? And the bad guy, the predator, Bubba wants you to stay on a social script. To be nice, to be predictable and nonviolent. Okay? When you're still talking and, you don't have it, you're not gonna give me any money, you must be a bitch. Well, no, I'm not a bitch, I really don't have any money, right? Whatever. Again, you're on their script. You need to change the script. That's enough, you need to back off. Okay, see the difference? Gotta be able to do that. Make sense? Okay, so again, the scenario is gonna be, you're gonna be down here, you're gonna start up, and how we're gonna start it, okay? And I taped the wolves from the last class, so people can kind of see